Bashorun, the feared chief of the Oyo Empire, was a man of immense power and cruelty. He was the head of the military and wielded authority that rivaled even the Elephant, the king of Oyo. Known for his ruthlessness, Bashorun was a man who controlled the kingdom with an iron fist, and his presence alone sent shivers down the spines of both the commoners and the nobility. He had the heart of a lion, but his heart was as black as the darkest night. In the heart of Oyo, whispers circulated among the people about Gaha's cruelty. He was said to have a dog, a beast as monstrous as its master. This dog, named Aku, was no ordinary animal. It was said to have the cunning of a man and the loyalty of a demon. The two were inseparable, with Aku serving as both a guard and a symbol of JA's terrifying power. No one dared to approach A when Aku was by his side, for the dog was as ruthless as its master. As Bashorun grew more powerful, so did his arrogance. He believed himself to be invincible, untouchable by any man, woman, or even the gods. Many of the Elephant's advisors warned the king of Gaha's growing influence, but fear kept the king from acting. Gaha was a man who would crush anyone who stood in his way, and his dog, Aku, was his enforcer in the shadows. It was said that Aku could smell fear, and once it did, death was inevitable. Gaha's cruelty knew no bounds. He would order the execution of anyone who dared to speak against him. His dog Ekin would often be seen dragging the bodies of his enemies through the streets of Oyo, leaving a trail of blood and fear in its wake. People began to wonder if Gaha was even human or if he had made some dark pact with the spirits of the underworld. The stories of his atrocities grew with each passing day. One fateful day, a young man named Adissa, a farmer by trade, lost his father to Gaha's cruelty. His father had been accused of stealing from the royal treasury, a crime he did not commit. Without trial or mercy, Gaha ordered his execution, and Aku was the one who delivered the final blow. Adissa, filled with rage and grief, vowed to bring Gaha to justice. But how could one man stand against the most powerful figure in the Oyo Empire? Adissa began to seek out the elders and wise men of Oyo. He knew that if he were to defeat Gaha, he would need more than just strength. He would need wisdom, strategy, and perhaps divine intervention. The elders told him of the ancient spirits that watched over the land, spirits that had long been forgotten by the people of Oyo. If he could win their favor, they might help him bring down the mighty Bashorun. Adissa traveled far and wide, seeking the blessings of the old gods. He offered sacrifices, performed rituals, and meditated in sacred groves. After months of searching, he encountered a mysterious old woman who lived deep in the forest. She was known as Aya Orin, the mother of the spirits. It was said that she had lived for centuries and had the power to see into the hearts of men. Aya Orin listened to Adissa's story and saw a way to defeat Gaha, but it would require great sacrifice. The bond between Gaha and his dog, Aku, was the source of his power. If Adissa could sever that bond, JA would fall. Aya Orin handed Adissa a small, intricately carved statue of a dog made of black wood. This is no ordinary statue, she said. It is imbued with the power of the spirits. You must find a way to place this near Gaha's dog. Once you do, the bond between them will weaken, and JA will lose his strength. But beware, young man, for the path ahead is dangerous. Many have tried to bring down GAA, and many have failed. With the statue in hand, Adissa returned to Oyo. He knew that getting close to Gaha and Aku would be nearly impossible, but he was determined. He began to gather a small group of allies, people who had also suffered at the hands of Gaha. Among them was Ali Yemi, a former palace guard who had been exiled by by GAA for refusing to carry out one of his cruel orders. Together, they formed a plan. Adissa and his allies waited for the right moment to strike. They knew that Gaha would never suspect an attack from within the city itself. One evening, during a royal banquet, they made their move. Alayemi, using his knowledge of the palace, led them through hidden passages until they were just outside Gaha's private quarters. Inside, they could hear Gaha talking to his dog Aku. With bated breath, Adissa carefully placed a carved statue near the entrance to Gaha's chambers. The moment the statue touched the ground, the air grew thick with an unnatural silence. Aku, sensing something was wrong, began to growl, but its growls soon turned into whimpers. The bond between Gaha and Aku was weakening, just as Aya Oren had said. Gaha, unaware of the source of his dog's distress, tried to calm Aku, but it was no use. The dog, once fierce and loyal, began to cower in fear. Panic set in as Gaha realized that something was terribly wrong. His connection to the dog was fading, and with it his power. For the first time in years, Gaha felt vulnerable. He was no longer the invincible tyrant he once was. Sensing the opportunity, Adissa and his allies stormed into the room. Gaha, caught off guard, reached for his sword, but his movements were sluggish, his strength diminished. Aku, the once feared beast, lay trembling on the floor, powerless to protect its master. Adissa confronted Gaha, his eyes burning with the desire for justice. "Your reign of terror ends tonight, Gaha," Adissa declared. Gaha, still defiant, sneered at Adissa. "You think you can defeat me, boy? I am Bashorun Gaha, the most powerful man in Oyo." But his words lacked the force they once had. Without the bond to his dog, Gaha was just a man who had made too many enemies and committed too many atrocities. The fear that once gripped the hearts of men was fading, replaced by a growing sense of hope. Adissa and his allies fought fiercely, but Gaha, even weakened, was still a formidable opponent. The battle raged on, but it was clear that Gaha was losing. As the fight continued, Aku let out one final, pitiful whine before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. The bond was broken completely. Gaha, realizing his defeat was imminent, made one last desperate attempt to escape. But Adissa was ready. He blocked Gaha's path and with a swift and precise strike, brought the tyrant to his knees. Gaha, gasping for breath, looked up at Adissa with a mixture of anger and fear. "The gods have abandoned you, Gaha," Adissa said coldly. "Your time is over." With that, Adissa delivered the final blow, ending the reign of Bashorun Gaha once and for all. The news of Gaha's death spread like wildfire through Oyo. The people, who had lived in fear for so long, rejoiced in the streets. The tyranny that had oppressed them for years was finally over. Adissa, though victorious, did not see himself as a hero. He had done what needed to be done, but the cost had been great. He knew that the scars of Gaha's reign would take time to heal. The Alafin, grateful for Adissa's bravery, offered him a position of power within the court. But Adissa refused. He had seen what power could do to a man, and he wanted no part of it. Instead, he returned to his farm, content to live a simple life, free from the corruption of the palace. The people of Oyo, however, would never forget his name. In time, the story of Bashorun Gaha and his dog became a legend, passed down from generation to generation. It was a tale of power and its dangers, of how even the mightiest of men could fall if they let their hearts be consumed by darkness. And it was also a tale of hope, of how even in the darkest of times, there were those who were willing to stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. Though Gaha and his dog were long gone, their memory lingered like a shadow over Oyo. The elders would often tell the story to remind the young ones of the importance of justice and humility. Power,